Look how far we've come, all the things we've done. Did it all with love, beauty from the bottom up. All I want is you, you're my favorite view. But there's nothing more, girl, you make my heart beat.
And we are back.
We are back, you beautiful creatures.
Friday content.
Yes.
Friday content that is not an article being read. We're going to do a reminiscence of an R&R article because I have something that I want to read from Let Them. Chapter 20 of this book, there is a section in here called Compatibility. Damn it. Before we jump into this, just know that we record all of these episodes in front of a live Patreon audience. And if you would like to be a part of the audience and a part of the chat, join our Patreon community. Insert the plug.
How about no?
Currently have 131 people watching.
All right. So this says, are you actually compatible with your partner? It's a hell of a question, right?
Yeah.
Earlier, you want to read this?
Yeah.
Because you're over there closing your eyes. You're the reader.
I was going to focus really hard on The Good Wives, Belle's the reader, which is a nice break for my larynx. Very nice. Very good texture.
Good boy. Yeah, it is, isn't it? The dots are raised.
Jenna ordered her book. So this is, like I said, this is this month's book for my Top Tiers Women's Group. And she sent a picture of it. And then she sent a picture of her son. And she was like, we were all just touching it. It's the greatest thing ever. We're rubbing it like Schmeagol. And you asked me to grab this book today. And I got into my car and I took a picture of my hand on it. And then I sent a gif of that fat cat with the heavy breathing. And I tagged her. And I was like, I get it.
That's funny.
All right. We're just going to get into it?
Yep.
Are you actually compatible with your partner? Earlier, I asked you the question, could you be with this person for the rest of your life if they never ever changed?
That's the question that should have been asked the last emailer.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I could do that.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you just stopped your growth right now, I would have to get through some frustration sometimes.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
It's not world-ending frustrations, and it's not like you never take my feelings into consideration.
Yeah.
You're very self-reflective, introspective,
Try
apologetic.
Try to be.
Yeah. That's not permission to stop growing.
Yeah. Okay.
And what if your answer is, I don't know, or no? If you can't truly end your bitching, then you can't accept the other person and love them as they are. That's not a very kind and loving thing to do. And if you can't stop slamming the door in the morning or be passive aggressive when they are running late yet again, that's not kind either. Whether or not you end a relationship is a deeply personal decision that only you can make. In the case of my friend and her spouse, it's not a hard call. His unhealthy habits are not a deal breaker, not even close. She loves him. She knows that to make the relationship work, she has to work harder at accepting him and changing how she shows up in the relationship. She needs to bring more compassion and kindness to their dynamic. She can keep trying to influence him, but the expectations have to go, along with any complaining. This is about her, not about him. Something that I wrote down on our retreat is that expectations are judgments.
Mm-hmm.
And if you let the judgments go, it'll be easier to accept things about your person.
Yeah, we've said for a long time that you can't change somebody. Like even at the beginning of the podcast, we said you have to become the best version of you and hope that the person that you're with will continue to evolve and grow and become the best version of them.
Mm-hmm.
So for 3 years of this podcast and TikTok that we've been doing, that has been the fucking message. And people have ripped us apart over it.
Yeah.
And then there's somebody that says it a little bit more eloquently, that has slightly better words. There's no F-bombs there,
right.
But she definitely doesn't look as cool as us.
No.
Right? Like,
no, I mean, there's a photo of her. She looks great for her age, but
we
definitely
still look way cooler.
Is not walking artwork the way we are.
Right.
Her soul is. I'm trying not to be offensive because I enjoy her as a person.
She's a fucking dope human being.
Yeah.
Like I've been listening to her a lot of books and I'm following her on TikTok and shit. Like,
yeah.
She's not an idiot. She's a very smart person.
I subscribe to her podcast on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's one of those people that is saying the same thing we are. She's just using a different vernacular. The words are the meaning is the same thing.
Yeah, she looks more integratable to society than we do. Continuing on.
Yep.
And because he's not changing who he is, she needs to change who she has been in order for this relationship to be better. But what most people are struggling with when they ask questions about using the let them theory to determine whether they are with the right person are issues of compatibility. There's a difference between being committed to someone and being compatible. Not compatible, compatible with them. My goodness. It is very common to fall in love with someone and experience what feels like the most incredible relationship of your entire life. And then over the time, the two of you start to grow in different directions, want different things, or realize that you've become different people. This is incredibly hard when it happens because you haven't fallen out of love. You just don't quite fit like you used to. I said that 2 things are required to make a relationship go the distance. 1, both people want the relationship to work and are both willing to work on it to make it better. 2, the issues that create problems do not require either person to give up their dreams or compromise their values.
Pause. So the first part of that is putting the relationship first.
Yes.
Something that we've stated the entire time. Your relationship has to be the priority, not your happiness, not her happiness, or his happiness, kids' happiness. The relationship has to be the priority. And if you want your relationship to work long term, you have to fucking work the relationship. The second part of that, can you read that again?
The issues that create problems do not require either person to give up their dreams or compromise their values.
Right. So the problems are going to be what they are. As long as we have the same end goal and we are working towards the same thing, everything is going to be all right. If you all of a sudden decide that you want to move to Venice, Italy and live on a fucking boat, and I'm terrified of the water, and that's never been a discussion. And before we were talking about tiny farms and miniature goats, like,
yeah,
we now have a huge fucking disruption in our life because I don't want to live on a boat. I want tiny fainting goats. Like, I don't really, but, and I'm not afraid of water either. I'm just, but so that's one of those things, right? Like you have to work on making sure that you guys are growing together. I don't know if it's in here, but I'm making notes because there's other things that I want to talk about. But have you heard of the 80-20 rule?
Maybe.
Okay. We'll let it play out till we're done with reading. And then if not, I'll get into it.
You may be in a situation where you both want the relationship to work and you're both willing to do the work. When there's a problem with compatibility, no matter how hard you work at the relationship, there's a high chance it still might not work.
Want 2 different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the saddest and hardest things to come to terms with when it happens, and it's a deeply personal choice. For example, let's say you're in love with and committed to someone who is British and wants to move back home to London, but you've always envisioned staying close to your family in Atlanta. Or another example that comes up a lot, one of you wants children and the other doesn't. You may talk about it, you may fight about it. You understand the reason why your partner wants to move back home to Europe, and they understand why you don't. You've discussed the pros and cons of having children, but never seem to come to an agreement on your future. You've gone around and around on the topic. In the past, you have said, we don't need to decide this now. But now has come, and you're at an impasse. They want to move, you don't. You want children, they don't. You're committed to each other, absolutely, but you might not be compatible right now. How do you know this is truly a deal breaker? Here's how you figure that out. Let's take the situation where you're in love with someone who always wanted to move back home to London, and you have always envisioned being close to your family in the United States. You ask yourself, will you regret breaking up with them more than moving to London with them? If you agree to move, will you resent your partner if you chose to leave your family and friends behind?
The answer to that is yes. Right? You could have an amazing fucking life in London, but there's going to be a part of you that didn't get the fucking end of life that you've been waiting for your entire existence. You want to have the families be close, and you have these ideas of grandeur and everybody coming to your house for Christmas and doing giant Thanksgiving, dinners and all of that shit. And you're not getting that in London because now you have a whole new family that you're not attached to.
Right.
And you're so far away from all of your friends and the people that you loved, and the relationships and bonds that you had, because the distance that is there is going to eventually make those fall off. The weekly phone call conversations to your parents will become monthly and will become when you can, or until somebody gets sick, or until somebody gets married, or there's a family reunion that you may not go to because it's going to cost a lot to fly back to the States. All of that is very real. Most people don't see that. They get caught up in the whirlwind of love and, well, let's just move to London then and go. And then the resentment happens. That's a very real thing.
Right. Both choices come with heartbreak. One requires you to give up on a dream you've had about living close to your family. The other requires you to leave the person who has been, until now, the love of your life. And by the way, your partner is facing the exact same heartbreak because they won't compromise either. Your partner is not changing. They are moving to London with or without you. Let them. And now, let me make a choice. Am I willing to compromise to be in this relationship? The fact is, 69% of the problems in your relationship are not resolvable. This statistic comes from 40 years of scientific research conducted by doctors John and Julie Gottman, the most famous relationship researchers on the planet, who also happen to be married.
Love the Gottman Institute.
Shout out to the Gottmans. They found that the number one issue that couples fight about is things that will never change, like how someone runs late or isn't as ambitious as you would like, or they spend every weekend in front of the TV, or their hobbies are different from yours, or they are messy, or they are a homebody, or they have different political opinions. These are all examples of the 69% of the problems in your relationship that are not resolvable. That's why it is on you to figure out what you value at the deepest level. Is this something you can compromise on if your partner won't? For some people, moving wouldn't be a big deal. They'd jump at the chance to move overseas with the love of their life. Doctors John and Julie Gottman's research says that if you are constantly fighting about the same stuff and going around and around, it's probably because of a profound difference between you and your partner's personalities and your deepest hopes and dreams. Mm-hmm. In other words, you value different things, and you have a different vision for how you want to live day to day and what you want to experience in your life. According to doctors John and Julie Gottman, almost all gridlock in your relationship comes from unfulfilled dreams. Take the couple fighting about moving to London, or the couple in a disagreement over having kids. These are big issues. That's why you can't let it go. It's tied to a deeper vision that you have about your life. It's a very personal decision that you're going to need to make.
Pause. It's also very selfish, right? So if you end up in a gridlock, it's because you're expecting the person that you claim to love you want them to change. You're trying to force them to change and bend to your will.
Yes.
If it's been clear that you don't want kids and the other person does, and they're pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing to get their way because they want kids, they don't care about how you feel in that situation. They're trying to convince you to give up, to agree to do it, regardless of what's going to happen in the future. Mm-hmm. That resentment, and that will end a relationship. For somebody that's vehemently, I don't want children, and they cave to make their person happy, they're going to live the next 18 to 20 years of their life fucking miserable because they didn't want kids, regardless of it, whether or not they love their children.
Right.
I still have a hard time with the kids. There's days where I'm like, I might have to leave. Like they're too much today. They're too loud. They're screaming and fighting. Like one of them sick, whatever's going on. There's days that I can't deal with it. I was very vehemently, I don't want to be with a woman who has kids. I've done that. Like my kids are grown. I'm done. Me making the choice to change was my choice. There was no pressure there. There was no anything. And on your end, there's a whole lot of grace in knowing that I didn't want kids. So when I'm having those bad days, you're like, okay, I remember him saying he didn't want to fucking do this, and he's been really great. I'm going to go let him play video games today, or he's going to go play with his Bronco, or whatever he's going to go do to decompress and not have to deal with the harder days. It doesn't mean that I don't want to be there. It doesn't mean that I regret my decisions, but there could be, if the kids were always like that, resentment.
Right.
And it would be my fault because I made the choice to be with a woman who had kids, even though I was vehemently against it. Mm-hmm. That's a big deal. And it's very selfish for people to want you to give up your hopes and dreams to match their hopes and dreams just because you want them to stay with you. You can have a really dope relationship with somebody and them not be your partner. That's all there is to that. And sometimes that's what that looks like. If you vehemently are, I want children, oh, I don't, that's just the end of the relationship because one of you has to give up your dreams. And there will be resentment because of it on both sides.
Yeah.
If you're the one who caves and goes, well, I wanted kids and I didn't get them because they didn't want kids, and you're on your deathbed and you're fucking alone, your person died before you and there's no children there, nobody's coming to visit you, your retirement fund is paying for your fucking retirement home, Are you going to feel fulfilled? Are you going to have a life of regret knowing that you didn't get that portion of your life that you always wanted taken care of? Like, that's a very real question.
Right. Continuing.
Mm-hmm.
Moving to London seems like something that is worthy of compromising on. But if you always wanted kids, you're going to regret wasting a decade with someone only to wake up in your mid-40s and realize this was something you truly wanted and that now is not going to happen. Ask yourself, is this going to require me to give up on a dream? Because according to the Gottmans, if it does, that's a problem.
I agree with the Gottmans in that statement.
The other day we were driving. I can't remember where we were going to, but I saw a sticker on the back of somebody's car, and I think it said like T18 or T81, something.
T21.
T21.
The extra chromosome.
Yes. And that is, if I'm recalling correctly, Down syndrome. And I searched it and it brought up all of this information. When you are in your 20s, I want to say it was like 25, the chances of having a baby with Down syndrome is 1 in 1,000. By the time you are 35 or 40, that goes to 1 in 400. I
actually think those numbers were way different. I think that by the time it was 35 or 40, it was like 1 in 4. Wasn't it? Like it went like way the fuck up.
It might have been less than 400. I don't remember. But women are born with all of the eggs that they are ever going to have in their lifetime to be able to create a child. And as you age, your eggs will deteriorate. So if by the time you're in your 30s and you've been with someone for the last 8 years and they don't want to have kids, your biological clock is 100% ticking, whether you want to accept that or not.
I was going to try to pull up the stats because when you read them to me, I was like, holy fuck, dude. Yeah.
You want me to look it up?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
You got your point across. People can Google the shit for themselves if they're really that interested in it.
Okay. Is there someone better? I've also noticed in my research that there are a lot of you in long-term committed relationships who wonder, is there someone better out there? The answer is, you'll never know. I personally believe this worry is something that dating culture, social media, and romantic comedies have put into your head. There is no perfect person. Everyone has past issues. Everyone has baggage. And the older you get, the more baggage you have.
Have you ever watched the Hallmark movie, the Hallmark channel?
Yes.
Or any of those Christmas movies?
Mm-hmm.
You notice that every time the love interest comes back into town and runs into the other person's married.
Yeah.
And has children, and the love interest is there, and they run off together, they fall in love and have that kiss moment. The bitch cheated or the dude cheated. Like, there's infidelity happening here, and you motherfuckers are eating popcorn, cheering it on, crying because they fell in love.
Right.
So
it's because they're lacking something in their relationship.
It's because we're being programmed that that's okay behavior.
Mm-hmm.
What you ingest matters. All the drama TV shows and all the fucking, reality TV shows and Jersey Shore and fucking MTV Real Life made people believe that that's what life was.
Yeah.
And they started mimicking that behavior, and we've become dumb because of it.
Mm-hmm.
Idiocracy is right fucking here. Like,
yeah, watching that movie actually scared me.
Bando, it's got what plants crave.
Everything was an ad in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Even people's names.
Yeah.
I can't scroll TikTok without it being an ad for something. Even content creators are now just posting ads to make money.
That's what TikTok is. I scrolled Instagram Reels the other day for the first time in probably 5 years. And oh my God, was it so much more enjoyable than TikTok?
Yeah.
I didn't get any ads. I didn't get a single fucking ad on there. There was no content creators trying to sell me shit, which was awesome. But like, it was fun content, and it was no drama, no politics. It was just funny shit. Yeah. Dogs and cats and
couples doing stupid things together.
Fun life shit, yeah.
The turkey gobble.
Yeah. That old man got his old woman with that shit.
He sent me that and I double checked. I was like, is there anything for him to grab while I'm talking to him? Because if you hit me with that, yeah, I'd be.
She said, why would you do that? That hurt. Oh, man. But you're right. Everything is becoming, it's marketing.
Yeah.
It reminds me in Ready Player One where they're like, we can take up 93% of their screen before they have seizures.
That's it. Everyone has baggage, and the older you get, the more baggage you have. Most people haven't dealt with that. Only you know whether you don't appreciate what's right in front of you, or if you see everything in your life as half empty. You may think the grass is always greener somewhere else. The fact is, the grass is greener where you water it. That brings me back to the 2 points that are required to make a long-term relationship work. 1, both people want the relationship to work and both are willing to work on it to make it better. 2, the issues that create problems do not require either person to give up their dreams or compromise their values. At some point, you just have to choose, and that might mean choosing what is right in front of you. As someone who has been married almost 30 years, I assure you every single couple has faced some really dark and scary times in their relationships. And for couples who choose to lean in and work together through their issues, struggles, and challenges, not a single one of them regrets it. And I know a lot of people who have gotten divorced and have a nagging regret that they wish they had worked a little harder to make it work and had the courage to face their issues sooner. Maybe if they would have had the hard conversations and gone to therapy, things would have turned out differently. Because even if it didn't end up keeping them together, it would have made the process of breaking up and the aftermath of separating with kids involved a hell of a lot better.
Right. It would have made a more amicable split.
Yeah.
Because it would have been ugly there.
Right.
There would have been no room for hurt. There would have been a third person going, okay, guys, this is what's happening in your lives. You are so disconnected and not in a relationship anymore that you either need to accept the fact that you're not compatible, or you're going to have to really start dating again and try to get your life together. And if you guys aren't willing to become compatible and do all of that, then it's time to split. Absolutely would have made things a whole lot easier.
Yep. Ending a relationship is a very personal and difficult choice, especially when you wish it would work. It might mean choosing to believe in that deep intuition inside of you that something about this just doesn't quite fit. You know it. You've just been terrified to admit it to yourself.
Hang on a second. In the chat, Rose said, we'll never get TikTok, Instagram, etc. The content nearly broke my marriage. And I hear that no matter what you block, it'll always pop up. So there's 2 things that really stand out in that statement. 1, the social media didn't break your marriage. The behavior of the 2 of you in your marriage, whoever was responsible for the foul behavior, that was them.
Yes.
Social media is going to do what social media does. I also disagree with the second part because though I don't never get thirst trap content, it's very few and far between. The algorithm is designed to pay attention to how long you look at something. And if you are scrolling and an ad pops up for a dress and you're a dude and somebody talks to you and you turn around and say something back to them and you go back and you keep scrolling, TikTok thinks that you looked at that dress ad. So you're going to start getting dress ads because you gave it your attention. The longer you stay on a video, the more the algorithm realizes that that's what you want. So if you're in a relationship with somebody and their feed is thirst traps and like, you know, overly sexual things, that's what they are choosing to engage with. The algorithm is snitching. It's telling on everybody.
Yeah.
If you go through my algorithm right now, it's dog shit. Not dog poop, but like it's dogs biting each other and playing and having fun
videos,
and like photography stuff. And when you go through Instagram, it's ads. I got to be honest. I don't even know what my TikTok is. TikTok is ads. I don't, every once in a while I'll get like cool music stuff. Like I get a lot of do you remember this song from the 90s? Can you guess this in one note? Like that's a lot of my TikTok. But my TikTok is more ads than anything and you can't control the ads.
Right.
But it's important to recognize that you guys cultivate your own algorithm by utilizing and how long you're staying on top of your content. So if you want to get away from that, don't go on the FYP and stay on your friends or the people you follow. Yep. Sorry. Had to get that out of the way.
If you know what your dreams are in life, you deserve and need relationships that support you in achieving them. If you stay with someone who doesn't share the same hopes and dreams that you have, it will make you both miserable. And look, it's easy for me to write that in a book, and it's easy for me to say, let them go. But there is nothing easy about breaking up with someone you still love. That's when more than ever, you're going to be grateful that you have the let them theory to help you get through it.
Danish said, I'm sure they'll have a pay $10 a month for ad-free scrolling soon. The question is would you pay it? I would. $10 a month is nothing to me.
Right.
What is that like? You know,
$120 a year.
Right. You break that down into daily like payments. It's nothing. It's change.
Right.
I would gladly fucking pay that to not have ads. You know what I would pay $20 a month to have chronological of the people I follow for every like 4 posts. So like I follow 50 people on Instagram. I have no idea. Call it 50 people. I think it might be less than that. It might be more. I don't know. But if I could see the things that they've posted recently, like the most recent, right? And then every 4 or 5 posts have something that I might be interested in, and then 4 or 5 posts and something I might be interested in, I would pay for that. because I want to see the content of the people I follow because I like their content. Otherwise, I wouldn't be following them.
Yeah.
I don't want to be told what I want to be seen. If I wanted to see that shit, I would seek that shit out. If I'm not searching things in TikTok, I obviously don't want to watch it.
Right.
But TikTok is more, the FYP is all about what they think you want to see and nothing about who you follow. So, all right, let's get into the 80-20 rule.
Okay.
Because I think that it might have gotten into in the book beyond that. The 80-20 rule is if you have a good marriage, 80% of all of your needs are fulfilled. The 20% that is not are things that you wish you could change about your partner that destroys your marriage. I wish they were more compassionate. I wish they didn't fart. I wish they didn't snore. Really superficial things that have nothing to do with the overall happiness of your marriage that you hyper fixate on because those are the things that you want to change about your person. That 20% is responsible for a lot of fucking divorces because of social media and people bitching and complaining that their partner only, that's the 20% of the life that you have to complain about. You're not praising the 80%. You're complaining about the 20. And while you're complaining about that 20%, there's people on the internet going, you deserve better. I would never treat you like that.
Right.
I would never do that to anybody. And that's constantly being shown in their feed because it becomes an echo chamber and it's trying to tell them like your life sucks. Buy this thing, find these new people, restructure your life to consume. When I heard that 80-20 rule, it blew my mind because our 20% of things that we don't like are things that I just completely let go of or I talk to you about. Mm-hmm. Because I'd rather you go, hey, I know that you do X, Y, and Z and it fucking drives me nuts. Because at least now I know I can work on it. Right? Maybe I don't like rinsing my plates off after I eat. I know that we had a thing about that and I'm kind of making a joke about it right now, but if that was something that I absolutely hated doing and it drove you up the fucking wall, it takes me 2 seconds to fucking spray the plate off. Like,
right.
I would rather take that extra 2 seconds than know that you're coming behind me being bitter and angry. And every time you see a plate in the sink, you're getting frustrated. Like, if we don't have those conversations, you don't give me an opportunity to correct the behavior, that 20% becomes a really big fucking deal because you're not talking to me about it and you're not giving me an opportunity to change. The same breath, there's going to be people going, well, what about the ones who we've told and they don't change? Well, how did you tell them? If you came into me and you were like, I'm so fucking sick of you not taking care of your plate, you fucking slob. Sorry about the multiple F-bombs. Why would I want to give you that? Like, you just bitched at me like you're my mom. I'm a fucking grown man. If I don't want to wash my plate, I won't wash my plate. And if it bothers you, leave it. I'll take care of it when I feel like taking care of it. And then the conversation is going to be like, well, what if I need the plates to serve dinner, right? Like, there's a whole lot but those are the conversations that you need to have. And you need to find a way to have it without being nasty and without being ugly and to explain the reasons why you don't like those things. And maybe you have a deep-seated fear of bugs. Maybe you live in a tropical climate where ants are trying to get into your house because they don't like the heat either. Or it rains a lot. We get rainy season in Florida, ants are coming inside.
Oh, yeah.
Spiders, doesn't matter what it is. If they can get in the house, they're getting in the house. It's just a lot. But those conversations need to be had, and it needs to be had from a place of love and not from a place of how dare you not meet this 20% that I need you to meet. Rose said, to be better, first reel we saw was with Team Vulnerable. Like I said, he's a different man today. I only have Facebook and he's always just picked up my phone, so nothing to hide over here. Well, I'm glad that you guys aren't hiding shit from each other. All right, guys, as you know, there was a TikTok scare. We lost the app for a whole 12 hours and we have no idea what the future of the app looks like. And with that, we are very concerned about the loss of our following. We have amassed almost 3 million followers across that platform with all 4 of our accounts. And we are trying to push people to other social media platforms so that in the event that anything happens on one app, we have multiple other backup plans. If you want to make sure that you're not missing any content, we highly recommend that you check out our Patreon.
On Patreon, we have multiple tiers to choose from. Starting at $10, you begin to receive exclusive content. At $15 a month, you get access to our private Discord server where we've amassed an absolutely amazing community of supportive people. And beyond that, we have other tiers to check out, along with my 2 private women's group, if that's something you may be interested in.
Guys, on our $15 and higher tier, you have access to live recordings. We record all of our content 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a week, live in front of our Patreon audience where they are able to chat with us while we're recording. They get to see all the flirting, the outtakes, the hot topic conversations that never actually make it on the podcast. And it's really worth that aspect in itself. We have an After Dark where we sit down usually once a week and have a glass of bourbon or in Peach's case, a glass of wine and a bowl of cheese. And we have a whole lot of fun conversations, karaoke in the Discord. We finish the lyrics. We literally just hang out and you guys get to hang out with us. There is a host of other perks, including Zoom calls that are coming for the ultimate tier. So that if you guys are having problems, you can talk to us. It also gives you the heads up on private meet and greets, because when we travel, we try to meet up with people on our Discord on a regular basis. There's a whole slew of other perks that come through Patreon. I highly recommend that you check it out.
The best way to support what we are doing is to share the content. The second best way is to check out our Patreon. Thank you guys for being here.
Well, I unfortunately have nothing else. I wanted to have a conversation about compatibility, and that covered it.
Yeah.
And we're 33 minutes in, and I can't, a 30-minute episode's not long enough.
So in reading the compatibility section of Let Them, that triggered the thought of, we received so many emails of, if he just did this, or if she was just this way, everything would be perfect. There needs to be an acceptance of the person standing in front of you. The disrespect to that person's soul that you're doing by thinking they would be better if they just did this, or if they acted this way, they'd be perfect. Nobody's perfect. This isn't a fairy tale. This isn't a fantasy novel. This isn't the smut books that you read at night. This is real life.
Yeah, you have to accept your person for who they are. When she was talking in there earlier about people watching too much TV on the weekend and doing all the things that make them happy and that you're never going to change them, it's because at the end of the day, people want to be happy.
Right.
And if you're doing the things that make you happy and your person doesn't like it, that's where the problem is. That becomes a them problem, because you're doing the things that fill your cup. Should you be aware of your partner? Absolutely. But you still want to be happy in life. And if you're living your life solely to serve other people's happiness, you're not living for you. You're a slave.
Yes. No free will.
Right. And that becomes a really big problem too.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't imagine wanting to try to change somebody to fit a mold. That doesn't sound like an enjoyable thing to me. Like, you're never going to have anything new to talk about. There will be never any growth there, because you're giving up everything of who you are and what makes you you to fit inside of a box that I'm trying to put you in.
Yeah.
And that speaks more to a possession. Like, this is my wife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You said something and it triggered a thought in me.
Okay.
If you were having conversations with anybody in your life, family, friends, coworkers, the men's group, about if Peaches only behaved this way, I would be so much more in love with her. I want to be seen and appreciated as I am. And of course, part of that is my growth and continuing to, I just had so many thoughts at once. I was going to say blossom, but even nature goes through a season of depression where everything dies out and there's a lack of sun and there's coldness and frost and challenges to grow through for the spring to come back and have this beautiful blooming and blossoming and life to come back in. So there's going to be seasons of people where they go through a depression, in a sense. They go through their winter, and then spring's going to happen. And if you hold that season of growth against them, you used to do this, or you used to do that, or I miss it when you did this, it negates everything that they just went through. We just read an email for episode 23.
Season 3, episode 23.
The emailer was holding on to what was the past of things. Made her man sound absolutely amazing in the beginning of the email, and then there was a whiplash left turn, and all of a sudden he's a narcissistic abuser. She didn't say that, but that's how it was coming across with what she was describing. And if you are not seeing your person through the trials and tribulations that they go through, PTSD, dude was a veteran, and you're just grasping onto the new honeymoon phase of it all, you're still holding on to a fantasy of that person. I'm really, if our son came to me and he was with a woman who constantly put him down and made him feel like shit because he's not who he was 5 years ago, and he feels like he's grown and has become a man that he's proud of, but she shits on him for it, I'd be absolutely devastated.
I would rather him be proud of himself than be miserable in a marriage.
Right.
I would rather him be proud and alone. Right. And that's really what it comes down to. Your self-worth matters. And,
Yes.
and like, you have to believe in you. And if the people around you are not enhancing your life, they don't need to be in your fucking life.
Mm-hmm.
If you would not accept this behavior from some random person, why do you accept it from the people that claim they love you? Because they love you? Like, what the fuck is that? So what?
What does love even look like if they're not appreciating you?
Right. Love is an action.
Yes.
It needs to be honed and shown and cared for and like cultivated and
watered.
And yeah, it's got to be nourished. Like you can't just be like, well, I love you. Wow. And you don't feel like you love me. You're not willing to listen to the conversations. You won't watch podcasts with me. You won't read a book. You won't do this. You won't do that. You won't do this.
You told me you don't care about my feelings.
Right. So do you love me or do you love the idea of us being together because it's easier for your life and you're comfortable?
And you like being able to tell people you're a husband or you're a wife.
Right. Conversations fucking matter.
When I ended a relationship in my life, I would hear from that person all the time, well, I love you. I love you. I do this because I love you. And when I ended that relationship, a big point of tension between the two of us was, I don't feel like you love me. You can say it all you want. Your actions don't make me feel appreciated. They don't make me feel like I'm cared about.
Right.
And that's a very selfish thing to do. For you to sit there and for not you, but for anybody to sit there and say, I love you, while simultaneously doing something they know is a detriment to your mental health or your spirituality or even your physical health. We know that stress and anxiety manifest physically within the body. That's selfish. At that point, you're loving the perspective of what you can show to the world by saying, I love this person without actually caring about what the foundation of that relationship is. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, little quick interruption. If you're enjoying the content, please leave a like. And also don't forget to comment. We enjoy interacting with you guys and hearing your opinions, and it helps the algorithm.
It's also free to do. And if you really want to help make sure the show continues to do, hit the subscribe button and share the content across your social medias. It costs you nothing and it greatly helps the show. I'm going to add on to it though. Tell somebody that you love them and then simultaneously tell somebody else that you wish that they would be different or that they would do something different or they would just change. That's not love.
Yeah.
It's not. I looked at you several times over the last month and be like, I don't want to fucking do this with anybody else. Like my life would not be good if you were not in it. And that includes your flaws and your shortcomings and all the little quirks that may annoy me at times. I know that I annoy you at times. I'm not fucking delusional. Mm-hmm. I'm a realist. I'm a lot to deal with sometimes. Doesn't mean that I'm not trying to do better and to not show that side and to quell that and like overcome that. But you also have told me several times over the last couple months that life is fucking awesome with me and that you wouldn't want to do this journey with anyone else. Mm-hmm. You have actually told me that you think that I've saved you, which is fucking huge. Dude, you're a dick. Stop that. But it's one of those things that when it comes down to it, like if you were constantly trying to change who I am as a person to fit the needs that you want, you don't love me. You love having me around because it's filling a need, but what you want is not me.
Yes.
What you want is all of these other things that have nothing to do with me and it's not who I am. And you trying to change that is going to make me become a shell of what I am. Mm-hmm. And then when you're like, well, you used to do all these things. And I'm like, yeah, well, I was happy then.
Yeah.
Now what? Well, what do you mean you're not happy? I'm not fucking happy. I haven't been happy for a long time because you made me become somebody that I didn't want to fucking be to meet your needs. And who I was is dead now. It doesn't work that way. You have to want your person and all of their shortcomings and flaws and being able to work and talk and grow and do and accept what they're not willing to change. If I was a couch potato that looked forward to nothing more than watching TV after work and I worked a normal outside job and all I wanted to do was come home, put your feet in my lap and watch TV at night and that was not enough for you, we would not be together.
Right.
Because you would not be fulfilled. I would not be fulfilled if I didn't get that couch time. Like there's a whole lot of compatibility that goes into those moments that you can't force somebody to be something they're not. Mm. And you have to understand that you might be the center of your universe, but you're not the center of theirs. Right? Like you guys have to find a happiness where you guys get to coexist in space and time together. Get to go to Saturn and look at the rings in the universe. Your souls are holding hands. Like we experienced that. Not gonna cry again. Fucking over this shit. Why did I want this? Oh. With that being said, I had another note that I wrote down.
Okay.
Because it's relevant to the conversation that we're having. If you give up the life that you want to placate the needs and wants of another person and your needs are not being met, and you were to die 6 months from now and the last 5 years of your life have been miserable because you have not got to enjoy a single day of it, and you get little blips of happiness, but it's not joy, is your life wasted? Because I believe it is.
I agree with that.
I think that we have one opportunity here. And like, I look back on a lot of times where in my previous marriage, I should have left. I didn't. For whatever my fucking reason was at the time, looking back on it, those reasons were dumb as fuck.
Excuses.
But they were my reasons. And at the time I believed them. And that was what I had because that's who I was. But if I would have died before we got to experience what we experienced, my life would have been a wasted life. I would have had to meet my maker and be like, why the fuck did you put me down there? Right? Like, all I knew was suffering.
Yeah.
And he would have looked at me and he'd be like, that's because of the decisions you made. I gave you a whole lot of opportunities. I put out a whole lot of people in your path and you fucking ignored them, or you did whatever it was that you decided to do because you have free will.
Mm-hmm.
So don't blame me for your shit. It would have been a whole ass thing. Like, I'm really caught up on this whole, the gratitude aspect of not killing myself. I'm living the life I've always dreamed of. And though there's still trials, like we still have things that we're struggling with. We had a whole conversation yesterday about moving and debt, and there's a lot of stress there, right? For me, there's a ton of fucking stress because I'm responsible for all this shit. And even though I know I would love to be in Tennessee, my soul craves to be in the mountains. I know that. I know that it's not feasible for us to up and move right now and just go do that shit. And it would be very reckless of me to just sell everything and try to make that work. But I also know that just buying a house up there is not going to be the option either. Like if we wanted to rent an RV or rent Airbnbs until we found where we wanted to be and then look into buying, that's the responsible way to do it. Now, if that takes 5 years, does that mean that the next 5 years of our life is a waste? We get to enjoy our lives. I said this to you yesterday. I don't want to give up the quality of life that we have to get to this point to do this thing later when we can slow it down and maybe do it in 10 years instead of 5 and still get to enjoy our life. There's still a whole lot of stress that comes into what we have. And people think that we have this perfect relationship, and our relationship is flawless. It's everything else around us that is creating stress, and we lean on each other, which is us working together to make sure that we don't have all that shit. And if I don't make it to the goal of the 5 year or the 10 year where we have all of this shit and I was to die beforehand and I met my maker, I'm gonna be like, damn, dude, I had a lot of fun. Thank you for bringing her into my life. Like, but I'm not trying to change you. And I am willing to accept your flaws, and I'm willing to go through the hard days with you because you're willing to go through it with me. There's not an ugliness there or an animosity. There's no, I wish she would just fucking clean the house, or I wish, he would just fucking go do something with the kids, or whatever the case may be. We have the conversations and we're willing to serve each other. But that speaks to the compatibility at the beginning of this. If you would have gotten somebody that wasn't willing to grow and evolve and do, and you weren't willing to grow and evolve and do, and we didn't have the hard conversations, we wouldn't be where we are. I don't know.
I wanted to add on what you were saying. Once the time comes and you have to meet your maker, whomever that is, or you believe in the universe or whatever. I squandered my life. My late teens, my early 20s were an absolute mess. And I couldn't imagine passing away by 25 and having to meet my Lord and doing a review of my life, and then him showing me what my life could have been if I just made one different choice. If you had stood up to this one person, you could have had all of this.
Yeah.
If you told this one person, no, I'm not doing that because I don't have to, you could have lived this.
Yeah. What would have happened if you would have gotten to experience in a moment? Because obviously, time is infinite for him. Mm-hmm. If he was able to show you in a moment what the next 75 years of your life could have been, had you not eliminated yourself, and like if you would have just pushed through and persevered and healed and grown, how happy you could have been. You know what I mean? Like we're living that right now. We wouldn't have gotten to experience that if we would have eliminated ourselves. Like there's a whole lot that goes into all of that, but that's a lot. And then you would have had remorse because you would have never got to experience another soul in life. I don't know. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
A lot.
I am really heavy on my body does not belong to me. I am borrowing it from my human experience.
We get so many emails from people and they're just fucking miserable and bitter.
Yeah.
And they hate their person.
And tit for tat and keeping score and
they don't want to leave because it's easier to stay. It's easier to be with the devil than the devil you don't.
Yeah.
And the fear of change is so fucking great. Like she said in the book earlier about people having to move to the other side of the world. There are people who would jump on that. I see that as brave as a motherfucker to give up everything and just go. Troy and Tiffany sold 90% of everything they owned to buy their ranch and lived horribly for the first 10 days that they were on it, and have built an amazing property over the last 14 years. There's a lot of hard work that goes into that. And I don't think that I would have been capable to do that. Like the idea of getting rid of everything I have to buy land and do all of that is scary and daunting. And I wouldn't want to do it.
I would.
I wouldn't want to do the work that comes into clearing land and building homes and barns and all of that shit. Like it's just everyday work. I'm literally creating a job for myself. If we were rich enough that we were able to sell everything and had millions of dollars and could buy the land, pay to have it cleared, pay to have the things built on it, and just had the property, I want the instant gratification, not the work that goes into it. Because by the time I'm going to be able to really, truly enjoy it, I'm going to be old as shit.
Yeah.
And I get that. So, but the idea of staying with somebody simply because you're afraid of leaving, knowing that you're unhappy and miserable, blows my fucking mind. Jordan B. Peterson said that we have 5 opportunities to really love and connect to people in life. And that means like true love relationships. You get 5 chances. And when you think of how many people are in the world and how hard it is to truly meet people, those 5 chances are rare. So if you were with somebody and you're fucking miserable and you meet somebody and you won't talk to them because you want to be loyal and not cheat on your person, and you let that person go, that could have been your soulmate. That could have been the love of your life. That could have been the person that the universe put in front of you to go like, I can tell you haven't smiled in a while. And they give you that smile and you're like, well, it's nice, thanks. And you go home and you be fucking miserable again, and that person leaves and you will never forget that interaction. And you lay in bed thinking about like, well, what if? If you're in a situation where you're fucking miserable, wouldn't it make more sense to find a way to be happy? Either fix your relationship or move the fuck on, because do you want to live the way that you're living right now for the next 30 years of your life? I'm really good at being miserable. I can do that by myself. I don't need other people for that. Depression's great. I can do that all by myself. I don't need other people to fuck my energy up. It's why I've become so selective about who I interact with. And the more selective I've become, the more the outside shit is starting to become enhanced, because the universe realizes I'm at peace and it wants chaos. The universe is chaos. You look at the Big Bang, that's what it was. Mm-hmm. So as I get more at peace, there's a whole lot of more shit around me trying to get into my peace bubble. That's just it's not a thing. I don't allow it in there anymore. I feel like fucking Bruce Lee, the way that I'm fighting this shit off, ping pong ball with nunchucks. Yeah. Like I'm doing a thing. You know, that wasn't real.
What?
The ping pong ball with nunchucks was a videography trick. Like he didn't actually do that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I feel lied to.
I was really let down by that because I thought that was really super badass. Jenna said, I often think of people who have sent in updates. It's been a couple of years and they are just now finding happiness. I'm so proud of those people who seek their happiness. I am too. Even when the ones, in the beginning of this, when people were like, hey, just giving you an update, I left my relationship. I'm like, fuck. Was that one of the ones where like, you should leave? Like, what's the update? Are you miserable now? And their life is so much fucking better. And I'm like, dude, thank God. Like they're happy and thriving and doing their thing, because it's what we want. We want people to thrive and be happy. And ultimately that's what matters. Your relationship can evolve or it can dissolve. It doesn't have to exist. You can find happiness, and that's the goal. But
that was a good sentence.
The evolve and dissolve. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm done. I'm emotional now.
Yeah,
and I have
to. Restroom.
I have to go. I have to do a tech test with Deadeye here in a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So, do you have anything you want to add to today's episode?
No.
Well, with that being said, guys, remember you are the author of your own life.
So grab a pen,
and we will see you on the next one.
Bye, guys.